because once we get back into town, into Krakow, the wonderfully historic centre and historic capital of Poland years ago, actually, there's 3 final laps of about 4 kilometres.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it's always difficult on an opening stage to get away in a breakaway and stay away as well. There's so many sprinters teams who want to have a go at this one, and I certainly think when you're looking at the peloton there with Orica Scott in at the very front end of the bunch, they've got Caleb Ewan here. He's very keen to open his Tour of Poland accounts with a stage win. But yeah, it's obviously stranger things has happened. These breakaways every so often tend to go away on an opening day when no one really wants to take responsibility of the race yet, because there isn't a yellow jersey so far, and with that, you know, these kind of things do happen. So but I think today it's going to be difficult for these two guys, certainly with just under a minute and 18 kilometers to go. It's going to take a monumental effort to stay away.
Well, we're coming up to the intermediate sprint before that as well, and remember, not just sprint points available for these guys here and a jersey at the end of the day, there's also bonus seconds, 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds, and anyone behind is going to have a go. And here we go then. Left hand side, it's Kaiser who's trying to get away. The Dutchman is, I think, going to get away. Paterski can't hold it with him, and it is Martin Kaiser who's going to go up and take those intermediate sprint points.
Yeah, sprint points always, and certainly bonus seconds in the sprint on an opening day are very important, at least in terms of the sort of team car position for the following day. If you get a couple of seconds out there on the road, then automatically you move up in the general classification, and it kind of means that your car is positioned sort of 4th or 5th in the row at the very worst, and with that, it's a good thing for the team, and you always know you got a service at hand very closely.
Well, the dark blue Lotto jersey is what's at stake there. We've also had King of the Mountains points to there as well for the cyclamen jersey. 2 classified climbs as we left Krakow, went out into the countryside and came back. And Krakow, we've seen it year in, year out in the Tour of Polonia and the Tour of Poland. The last few years it's been the final time trial. This year we start with a sprint, and there are no time trials this year, Magnus. 7 road stages, most of them bar one, well, everyone bar one, below 200 kilometres. This one only 130 k's today, as we can see Paterski there beaten to the sprint points. But it's a bit of an experiment this year. 7-man teams for the first time, 22 teams still, but 7-man teams, and a lot of very short stages.
Yeah, some incredibly short stages for a World Tour race, and also the seven-man team as well is something interesting. Most of the time is either 8 or 6 riders, and apart from the Grand Tours where we obviously use 9 riders, but the Poles here have decided that 7 is the number to go with. And yeah, it could certainly throw a few spanners into the works if we're looking at sprint lead-outs, and we're looking at GC sort of riding on the front and maintaining those gaps to the breakaway. You got one less rider that you can sacrifice, and it usually means that the GC guys end up a little bit more isolated towards the end, and certainly if it's a shorter stage as well, we have seen in the Grand Tours over the last number of years how difficult it can be to do these shorter stages, because everyone rides so much faster.
The Dutchman Kaiser has just been caught. You can see Bora riding on the front with Cesare Benedetti, the Italian rider, who speaks quite a bit of Polish, actually. That's his partner is Polish. We just see that there's 3, 2 and 1 points for the Lotto prize there. Nathan Haas taking a bonus second there. That's very, very interesting for the general classification.
I certainly think it is, because Nathan Haas this year has really taken a step up and climbs very, very well. Maybe not over the bigger mountains, but certainly for the more undulating ones. And with the stages being slightly shorter, it might be something that might play into his favour. If it's a hard stage, he might be able to hang in there rather than being forced to go over long distances and big mountains. So yeah, it's certainly very interesting to see him picking up that 1 second. But Paterski's coming back in towards the bunch.
Well, it's all going to be played out next weekend, we think, in terms of the GC. Of course, there's some interesting stages along the way, and it's up and down, and those short stages really do make it unpredictable. But we've got the Zakopane traditional stage in the mountains on Saturday. That's just under 200 kilometers long, but then 132 kilometers short mountain stage from Bukovina to Bukovina. That's going to be one to watch in the next few days as we get towards it. So, Orica Scott at the front in their navy jerseys, riding for Caleb Ewan. Just behind, Bora Hansgrohe for Peter Sagan, back after that incident at the Tour de France. There he is in the rainbow jersey, in about 10th position in the centre of your spot. On the right-hand side, left now as you look at it, black and white jerseys. Their Team Sunweb, the German team, riding for Max Volsky today, a very strong sprinter. And on the right-hand side, you can see Maciej Paterski is caught with just less than 14.5 kilometres to go. So the break is brought back. It seems that on a flat circuit here, unless something bizarre happens, we're going to have a bunch sprint.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Robert. It's sort of made up to be a bunch sprint today, and with all the teams, we've got so many teams on the front here now, all sort of jostling for position and trying to get control of the bunch and maintain that control. It just means that the pace gets driven up higher and higher the further we get towards the finish, and it will be very, very difficult for anyone to try and jump away here. Interesting to see, though, is that Sunweb, who usually maintains such a cool when they're heading in towards a finish and a lead out, they always sit back and wait very, very long before let everyone else waste all their riders first, and then all of a sudden magically they appear with a whole team lineup. All of a sudden now they're taking control of this for Walscheid, and I think that's potentially a bit of a mistake with just over 13.5 or just under 13.5 kilometers to go.
Well, they've had 3 stellar months at the Giro d'Italia, of course, and then at the Tour de France with Barguil and company. Been absolutely superb, so confidence must be very high. We'll have to see how they get on. Look out for the UAE Fly Emirates jerseys as well. They have both Ferrari and Modolo here. Bonifacio's here to sprint for Bahrain Merida as we're coming close to the finish line. This is going to be around about the last kilometre when we get there. You can see there's a little bit of wind, 13 kilometres per hour. It's a lovely warm day in Poland. We're mainly concentrating in the south of the country for this week's race. Strung out as we head into the first of the 3 laps.
Yeah, it just goes to show how high the pace is, and that's what sort of puzzles me a bit, the fact that we got somewhere back on the front here now, driving it on so hard, and they must really believe in Walscheid, and rightly so. But I think without a lead-out train, Walscheid is going to find it somewhat more difficult against some other riders like Caleb Ewan, and let's not forget Peter Sagan is here as well, and Peter Sagan is going to want a few revenges, I think, after what happened to him in the Tour de France.
He certainly is. Look out for the youngster Riccardo Minali as well. From very good cycling stock, his father was a top sprint at the end of the 1990s.
Very good. I raced a lot against Nicola back in the day when I just started out.
Well, he's wearing the turquoise jersey for Astana as they come through the start of the first of 3 laps. Been racing for 2 hours 41 minutes, 12 kilometres to go on stage 1 of the Tour de Pologne. So it's basically a bit of a triangle here. Kilometre straight, turn, kilometre straight, and then about a kilometre and a half on the way back in straight. It's a nice long straight finish, but of course these turns, as we get up to the last lap, are going to be very interesting.
They can be, but it's also actually it can be more dangerous with the long open straights because the speed gets higher.
The fans, the track.
Over 2 laps remain. The break has gone. It's been Team Sunweb controlling for quite a lot of time here, and this is an interesting build-up because a lot of teams are getting a free ride. Let's have a look at some of the other sprinters. We've mentioned Sagan and Ewan, the big names, of course. Yep. Volkswagen, that's the team that are working at the front at the minute. Volkswagen, the German sprinter for Team Sunweb, but the Van Poppels are here. Danny for Sky, Boy for Trek Segafredo, yep. Tom van Arsbroek for Cannondale Drapac. Niccolò Bonifazio's there for Bahrain Merida. Even Sonderholz Denger as well for Agile de Sala Mondiale. He's a quick finisher. Yep. Sasha Modolo, Roberto Ferrari, they're riding for UAE Team Emirates. Lorenzo Manzan and Kevin Reza as well. That can always cause a surprise for Française des Jeux. Minali and Franchak as well, the Polish sprinter. There are plenty of names to put into the mix there, and even Jens de Bussere too.
Yeah, there's certainly a whole range of sprinters that are here and are quite keen to. Some of them who've been at the bigger races lately, and some of them are just coming back into it after about a month or so of training, and maybe there's some smaller races, and all of a sudden now back into World Tour, and they certainly want to show that they're starting off the back end of the season, shall we call it, with great form, and you know, get the sort of team behind them as well to back them up for the sprints. The first day when you're coming into a sprint like this and you've been away from the team for a bit, it's always a question of get the respect, get the sort of backing and belief from the team and your teammates that you're able to finish off the work that they're giving you. If you're able to do that, you straight away step up another 10% in terms of commitment from the riders, certainly the guys that you got leading you out. If you miss out on that, straight away it starts becoming a little bit sort of hesitant, and are we going to do this full out or we're not? And you know, there's a certain amount of risks involved in doing a lead out, and you know, are you going to risk it for a guy who's not quite on it?
Not something you often see.
Very much
certainly so. When we're out of Grand Tours and big classics and monuments.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Well, Sunweb is still going on the left-hand side. Bora through the middle, and Bora Hansgrohe have done a brilliant job with Cesare Benedetti, who's been riding a long time here. In terms of lead-out, it's not the usual pit that Sagan approached, because of course he had a lot of his main men racing for 3 weeks at the Tour de France. They're now resting. His big mate Mathieu Bodnar got that wonderful win in Marseille in the time trial. I'm sure he'll be very happy about that. But here he's got the likes of Sam Martins, Conrad and Basca, probably the final man.
Not a bad little train that either, and let's put it this way: Peter Sagan doesn't necessarily need a lead-out train. He needs someone to plonk him on in the rightish sort of position with about 1.5 kilometers to go, and then Peter is very good at surfing the wheels and moving around the bunch and freelancing his way to the finish, which is possibly one of the reasons why he also ended up in that slight conundrum at the Tour de France, because he always does that. He flicks from left to right and he gets onto the right wheels, and he is so aggressive when he rides his bike, in a good way as far as I'm concerned. This time it went a little bit sort of pear-shaped, because I think, in my opinion, Cav went for a gap that wasn't quite there, and Peter closed a gap that already, well, shouldn't have been there. And it was kind of, in my book, a bit of a 50-50, and it turned ugly.
Yeah, it was just the elbow didn't look good, did it? And that's probably what swung it in the end, even though we've debated it time and time again, and I think most people probably now think that he should have been allowed to stay in the race.
I certainly think so. To me, the elbow wasn't something that he didn't flick Cav off with the elbow. I think it was more a question of trying to open up space for him, because Peter already rides with his elbows quite wide open. He's kind of got that horseshoe kind of.
Well, he's come from mountain biking, hasn't he, and cross as well.
And that's his position on the bike, and yeah, it just turned a bit sort of sour.
About halfway through the 3 laps, 5.5 kilometers to go now. The right-hand side, Lotto Soudal putting a man there. Remember, they won the overall last year with Tim Wellens here. It was a rain and storm affected Tour de Pologne last year. As still on the left-hand side, Team Sunweb occupy the front positions. Doesn't look to be huge pace on though. It's not quite the strong out now, Magnus.
No, it's not, and that can certainly be a bit dangerous in terms of you know, riders trying to move up, but when there isn't space, and that's when you easily hook handlebars, and there's a crash coming down. See Sky coming up on the right-hand side as well. They're now trying to sort of stay near the front. this kind of position is really quite dangerous certainly for the general classification riders, because you as a sprinter, you kind of used to a little bit sort of harder type of riding, and you tend to rub shoulders and sometimes handlebars and whatever a little bit more than what the climbers and GC guys are used to, and it's very difficult to sort of spot who you got to your left or your right, and before you actually put the force into it.
Well, the power is being put on the front again now as they approach the finish line for the penultimate time. The next time they're on this particular stretch of road, there'll be 315 meters to go until the finish. Bora on that far side in the black and green as Benedetti peels off. You can see it's Boswell moving up on the right-hand side for Sky at the moment. There's Vincenzo Nibali in about 10th position as well, behind in his red and navy blue jersey for Bahrain Merida. The bell rings. They go through. There is one lap to go after almost 3 hours of racing on stage one at the Tour of Poland.
Yeah, it seems like there's a big drag race into this tight corner at the bottom here, and yes, it's important to get through that one first, but at the same time there's so far around the back end of the circuit that you still got time to move up there. So I don't think that corner is quite as important as it potentially looks, but you certainly don't want to be down the back end here, because by the time the guys in the front start accelerating, and they are accelerating very, very hard now, it's almost a max effort out of the corners to deliberately try and string the bunch out, and if you're on the receiving end of that bungee down the back, if you will, then it becomes very, very hard, because all of a sudden these guys are doing 55 kilometers an hour and maybe more, and all of a sudden you're actually having to ride 65 to sort of close up the gap from behind.
Peter Sagan in about 10th position, centre stage, very well placed, 96 career wins to his name.
And how old is he?
Seems to have been around forever, still in his mid-20s. There he is on the right-hand side.
Yeah, he's certainly...
Roberto Ferrari being brought to the front. Can't see Sacha Modolo just yet. I wonder if it's he or Moto's going to sprint.
Rider that pops up very, very late into these kind of sprints. He tries to hide his way and sort of pick his way through the bunch, and then magically appear with about 300 meters to go. It's somewhat more difficult when you got this wide road and so many teams are drag racing each other to get to the front and stay on the front.
Now from BMC. BMC racing with Lotto Soudal putting a rider up there. BMC, who here have come with eyes on the general classification. They have no sprinter here. Daniel Oss is probably their fastest rider, and it's he who's having a go at the end.
Yeah, why not? If you get that opportunity where it settles down a little bit on the front, and you can kind of spot when the riders on the very front are struggling to keep the pace up, and 2.4 kilometers to go, it's certainly an opportunity.
It looks like Tomasz Marcinski, the former Polish champion, who's with him just behind as well. Remember, Jens de Bussere is probably the sprinter for Lotto Soudal. They also have Yellow Wallais as well. It is, in fact, Tomasz Marcinski, the pole, second wheel for Lotto Soudal. 2 kilometers to go now. Daniel Oss stringing this out very, very well for BMC Racing, but for the sprinters teams, there's something to catch, and they've caught them already. It's
there comes another go.
Another go from Quickstep, who bizarrely haven't brought a big sprinter to this race either.
No, and they've certainly got enough of them in the team, so it's a bit strange that they've turned up here without a sprinter, but they certainly seem keen to have a go anyway.
Well, I know Fernando Gaviria has suffered an injury. He's gone back home to Colombia to recuperate for a while. In the meantime, the rider who's gone off the front here has opened up a little bit of a gap. 1.6 kilometers to go, and it's down to Orica Scott and Luka Meskits, I think, the Slovenian champion, to try and chase this down. A rider from Astana in there as well.
Yeah, that's not particularly good for Caleb Ewan, that Lucas is already on the front and having to take wind. He's now trying to use the Astana rider just to recover a fraction before he has to go again and try and bridge that gap back to the Quickstep rider, who we don't quite know who it is yet.
Very, very messy approach to the final kilometre here as Sagan is moving up on the right-hand side. Caleb Ewan still second wheel, and his lead-out man is dying a slow death out there. Quickstep with the attack off the front. Davide Martinelli, remember, last year won the opening stage and we're in the final 900 metres.
Yeah, Luka Meskis there looking around, trying to find someone who wants to basically take over for him and help him out with a lead-out. And I think you've managed to find a place for Caleb Ewan to slot in on another train there, because he's not got any more legs to do this with, and this is going to run very, very close to the finish here. We're coming up a couple of 100 meters from the line already. Gazprom on the front. We've got it looks like Nathan Haas there as well from Team Dimension Data, Wildchild coming up in the white and black there as well, the big man.
Oh, there's a crash. There's a crash. Lots of riders down. Crash right across the bunch. And this is a really messy sprint because his Baralji's been taken down. But look at Sagan through the centre. Peter Sagan is going to launch his sprint. He's going to launch it quite a way out. Sagan on the left-hand side. Ewan around him. Sagan's going to take it, though, at a canter. Peter Sagan, Caleb Ewan, and Minali, I think, was in there as well. And what a way for Peter Sagan to return. The world champion is back.
Yeah, he certainly is, and in a very, very strong way as well. The way he spotted an opportunity to jump the rest of the sprinters. They weren't quite ready to open up their sprints yet, and Sagan just went for it and managed to hold off Caleb Ewan for the win.
So a win for Peter Sagan. Remember, he's a former overall winner of this race. First race he ever won overall in his career. Interesting to see what the crash has done to any GC contenders or any other sprinters. We'll have to wait overnight to see what happens there.
There was one of the Dimension Data riders that went down first, and just trying to work out who that is.
So it's Peter Sagan, Caleb Ewan and Danny van Poppel, with Riccardo Minali, Niccolò Bonifazio making up the top 5. Haas up there in 6th place, getting away from the crash. Ferrari, Franchak, van Poppel and de Bussera making up the top 10. Sagan, the winner. So Peter Sagan wins stage 1 and will wear the first Tour of Poland yellow jersey for 2017.